This is the AB4WS radio show. Every week, bringing you the exciting amateur radio news and information happening in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana areas.
The AB4WS radio show can be found on the Apple Podcast app or your favorite podcast application. And now also available on the AB4WS radio show YouTube channel.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. This is KY6ET, Kilo Yankee 6, Echo Tango.
Kilo Charlie 3, Whiskey Victor, 4 Alpha, West Central Florida. QS number 1, Echo Mike Delta Charlie, thank you, number 3, QRZ Field Day.
June 28th and 29th was the ARRL Summer Field Day. For those not familiar with Field Day, it is the most popular on-air event held annually in the United States and Canada. On the fourth full weekend in June, more than 31,000 amateur radio operators gather with their clubs, groups, or simply with friends and usually operate from remote locations. The objective is to set up a remote portable station, oftentimes with emergency power in a group, and try to work as many stations as possible on 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meter HF bands, as well as 6 meters on VHF and UHF simplex, in voice communications on AM, FM sideband, or using Morse code or digital modes which support the exchange, which is the number of transmitters being used simultaneously, the class, and the ARRL section. This year, Field Day was a tremendous success. Reports coming in look like clubs and groups made a lot of contacts. I'm entered the Get on the Air station for the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club at Lincoln Ridge Park in Independence, Kentucky. We worked 40 and 20 meters with both bands were wall-to-wall with stations. We had 5 participants for the Get on the Air station. One was a totally new to amateur radio. 3 others were newly licensed, first time on HF, and the last one was a ham who had not been active for some time. They made 32 contacts and learned a lot and enjoyed it. I suspect the unlicensed participant will soon be studying for their test. I talked with Marty, AA5UN from Texas, who learned 6 meters, was open Sunday morning, and started working 6 meter FT8. When I spoke to him, he had already had 58 contacts in the log. When he finished, he had 80 contacts, all on 6 meters FT8. Everyone seemed to have a great time, and many said they're excited for Field Day 2026. The Milford Amateur Radio Club has announced that the 2025 Cincinnati Hamfest Club of the Year will be awarded on August 9th at the Cincinnati Hamfest. And this year's Club of the Year is the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. President Ron Brooks, AC8MA, in the announcement said that the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association is a club showing a passion for all things radio. They're a great example of a club advancing amateur radio. Contrary to popular belief, the amateur radio hobby is growing, and there are more licensed ham radio operators today than ever before. Cincinnati Hamfest attracts amateur radio operators from the entire region. Congratulations to the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. Sad news to report. Roger Smallwood, N8EKG, one of the principals at R&L Electronics in Hamilton, Ohio, has become a silent key. Roger has been a great asset to the amateur radio community for some time, and he'll be greatly missed. Billy Nobles, KI4SMP, 73 years of age, of Columbia, Kentucky, has also become a silent key. The Army veteran and retired Adair County 911 dispatcher, was a Civil War enthusiast who enjoyed hunting, fishing, shooting guns, and being outdoors. Our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of both these silent keys. The Louisville Hamfest Committee is looking for some help. In the past couple years, they have lost 3 longtime members who did a lot of work for the Hamfest. They're looking for some volunteers to help fill the void. If you can help out, contact Buddy Soul, KC4WQ. The Okayan Amateur Radio Society is looking for volunteers for the 3-day Harvest Home Fair on September 5th through the 7th. This is one of the 2 fundraising events that Okayan benefits from, the other just occurring at the Red, White, and Blue Ash event. They will be giving away a prize to a lucky volunteer. So if you can help out, please contact Drew, KEHATL, by emailing him at macdrew1 @pm.me. The 13 Colony special event is running from July 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to midnight on July 7th, and it's now in its 17th year. The event has grown from approximately 12,000 contacts in 2009 to last year a total of 292,496 contacts. The special event consists of one station operating in each of the 13 colonies, K2A through K2M. The three bonus stations, WM3PEM in Philadelphia, GB13COL in England, and TM13COL in France, each representing their city, state, or country's role in the Americas colonial period. Ham radio operators and SWLs can participate in the event. Complete information about the call for each colony station and bonus stations can be found on the event website of 13colonies.us. Stations need to make only one contact with one of the participating stations, or they can go for a clean sweep and work all 13 colony stations and the 13 bonus stations. Each station offers a special QSL card for the event, as well as a different certificate each year. Don't forget, July 6th is the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club monthly Simplex Net on 146.580 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is always held on the first Sunday of each month. They invite any licensed amateur radio operator to join them by checking in. Perhaps you cannot hear the net control station at your location. Well, no problem. Just listen, and eventually you'll hear a station who will take your check-in and relay it into net control. The net starts by stations who can hear net control. Then each one of those stations puts out calls and takes check-ins from stations who can hear them. And then the next set of check-ins will be asked to put out calls to take check-in for the stations that can hear them. After the net, you then post who you were able to hear in your net report on the NKRCgroups.io page. This is an effective way to test your equipment, learn how to use your equipment if something should happen and the repeaters are off the air. It is also a great training opportunity. So on the first Sunday night of the month at 6 p.m., tune your radio to 146.580 and join the net. A pro tip is to turn the squelch off. You'll hear a lot more stations coming through the noise than you will with the squelch on. The Brunch Bunch will meet on July 12th at 1 p.m. at Wild Mike's American Eatery, 7587 Bridgetown Road in Miami Heights, Ohio, near the Okayan Field Day site. July 14th is the new Queen City Triathlon, Duathlon, and Aqua Bike in downtown Cincinnati. And Brian Hoffman, KC8EGV, is looking for some amateur radio operators to assist with communications for the event. If you're interested, please email him at hoffgroup@gmail.com.
Repeater news.
Are you looking for the most up-to-date list of repeaters in the greater Cincinnati area? Well, I have an Excel spreadsheet where I've listed repeaters that are active in the area, separated by tabs for each band or mode, so you can easily look for just DMR repeaters or 2-meter analog repeaters and so on. The list includes 2 meters, 220, 440, 6 meters, D-Star, DMR, C4FM, P25, and some other classifications. Every time I update the file, I include the date and the file name so that you know you have the latest update. To download the file, go to the AB4WS Radio Show Facebook page and go to the file section and download the file. If you're not on Facebook, email me at ab4ws.radio@gmail.com and I can email you the latest file. If you see any errors, problems, additions, or corrections, email that information to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com. Last week, N8OXA put up a new antenna on the 443.175 repeater in Florence, Kentucky. It's playing even better than before. AD4CC and the WW4KY group has purchased a new repeater for the 145.420 repeater, and it is now currently running D-Star and analog, with analog having a PL tone of 100 Hz. There is a 10-second delay between each mode switch. Right now, the repeater is only running 10 watts, but David is working on adjusting the levels, tweaking the performance of the repeater, so look for the coverage area to increase in the future. But certainly, it is playing well on D-Star. I had several QSOs with people while mobile with no issues on D-Star. There are reports coming in that something has happened to the WC8VOA Westchester Amateur Radio Association repeater on 145.390. I know I can no longer hear it at all. Hearing some reports that some are hearing it up north very, very weakly. May have been subject to a weather-induced issue from the recent storms. If you know the answer, shoot me an email at ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Hamfest.
July 19th is the Williams County Amateur Radio Association Hamfest at the Williams County Fairgrounds, 619 East Main Street in Montpelier, Ohio. July 19th is Norfest at the Lorain Community College Spitzer Conference Center, 1005 North Abbey Road in Elyria, Ohio. July 20th is the Van Wert Hamfest at the Van Wert County Fairground, 1055 South Washington Street in Van Wert, Ohio. August 2nd is the Columbus Hamfest at the Elyden Shrine Center, 1801 Gateway Circle in Grove City, Ohio. For more information, go to columbushamfest.com. August 9th is the Cincinnati Hamfest, sponsored by the Milford Amateur Radio Club at the Claremont County Fairgrounds in Owensville, Ohio. This year, they will have overnight parking for campers and RVs with electric and water hookups. Go to cincinnatihamfest.org for more information. On August 9th is the Letcher County Amateur Radio Club Hamfest at the Mountain Shrine Club, 95 Maryland Drive in Whitesburg, Kentucky, from 8 a.m. to noon. They're already amassing a nice stash of door prizes from some great name brand sponsors. For more information, contact Roland Brown, AF4Y at AF4Y@REBROWN.org. August 16th is the Portsmouth Radio Club 2025 Hamfest at the New Boston Village Community Center, 3980 Rhodes Avenue in New Boston, Ohio. On August 17th is the Warren Hamfest at the Trumbull County Fairgrounds, Commercial Building, 899 Everett Cortland Hall Road, Cortland, Ohio. For more information, go to w8vtd.com/hamfest. August 30th is the Athens Trunk Fest at the Athens Masonic Lodge, 12 West Carpenter Street in Athens, Ohio. On Saturday, September 6th is the Greater Louisville Hamfest 2025 at the Parquet Springs Conference Center, 395 Parquet Springs Drive in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. This year will be free admission for anyone under 16 years of age. Also, scouts and scout leaders in uniform can get free admission as well. Exciting forums on POTA, digital networking, and the ARRL. Major prizes include a Yaesu FT891 and an MFJ 1536 tri-band pulsar antenna, as well as many others. QLF contest is back again this year, and they'll be awarding the Kentucky Amateur of the Year Award. For more information or to purchase your ticket, go to LouisvilleHamfest.com. September 7th is the Findlay, Ohio Hamfest at the Hancock County Fairgrounds, 1017 East Sandusky Street in Findlay, Ohio.
Are you looking to upgrade your license? Do you have someone else that's interested in the hobby? Here are some upcoming exam opportunities.
The Milford Amateur Radio Club holds amateur radio testing on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association has exams frequently. For their exam schedule, email exams.w8bi@gmail.com. On July 12th at 10 a.m., the Crooked River Amateur Radio Club will be holding an amateur radio exam session at the Oak Hills Presbyterian Church, 2406 Ardwell Avenue in Akron, Ohio. You must pre-register by calling 330-786-8088. On July 12th, the Westchester Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at 10 a.m. at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylersville Road in Westchester, Ohio. For more information and to register, go to hamstudy.org/session/WC8VOA. On July 13th, the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio exam session at 9:15 a.m. at the Cuyahoga Falls Public Library, 2025 2nd Street in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. For more information, email education@cfarc.org. On July 13th, the Cuyahoga Amateur Radio Society is hosting an amateur radio testing session at 9:15 a.m. at the Old Elmwood Recreation Center, 6200 Wisniewski Parkway in Independence, Ohio. On July 19th, the Crooked River Amateur Radio Association is hosting an amateur radio exam session at 10 a.m. at the Oak Hill Presbyterian Church, 2406 Adwell Avenue in Akron, Ohio. Pre-register at 330-786-8088. On July 21st at 5:30 p.m., the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. You must register by going to hamstudy.org/session/NKY-VE. On July 24th at 6 p.m., the K4TG VE team will have an amateur radio testing session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On July 26th at 10 a.m., the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio testing session at the American Legion, Post 46 in Danville, Kentucky. On August 9th at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will hold an amateur radio testing session at the Red Cross Building in Lexington, Kentucky. On August 14th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH@ARRL.net or check in on the K8GE.net website. On October the 9th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH at K8WEH@ARRL.net or on the KAGE.net website. On October 11th at 10 a.m., the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department, Georgetown, Kentucky. On October 25th at 10 a.m., the Wilderness Road Amateur Radio Club will host an amateur radio exam session at the American Legion, Post 46 in Danville, Kentucky. On October 28th at 6 p.m., the K4TG VE team will host an amateur radio exam session at the Anderson County Extension Building. Use the rear entrance in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. On November the 8th at 10 a.m., the Bluegrass Amateur Radio Society will host an amateur radio exam session at the Red Cross Building in Lexington, Kentucky. On December 11th, the DeForest Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio exam session at 6 p.m. at the Adams County Emergency Management Office, 31 Logan's Lane in West Union, Ohio. Please pre-register by emailing K8WEH at K8WEH@ARRL.net or on the KAGE.net website. On December 13th, the Scott County Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at the Georgetown Police Department in Georgetown, Kentucky. Special thanks to this week's content contributors: KY6MM, AC8MA, KY4GW, WB8YYS, KD8ZLD, K9HIO, N8LAR, K4NKU.
If you have something you think other amateur radio operators in the area would be interested in, send the information or your recorded audio file attached in an email to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Covering your amateur radio news and information in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana tri-state area, this is Jack Prindle, AB4WS in Big Bone, Kentucky.